Liking has never been about looks. Not really. Under the top of looks and moves lives a far older wisdom, one that does not look for a face, but a sign. When a woman feels pulled to someone, it is not the person she meets first, it is her own hidden power seen through another. Jung called this the animus, into a talk with the quiet man inside herself. This is the first hard truth, to see that what feels like love is often just knowing, the mind seeing its lost half in human form. When a woman says, "I don't know why I'm pulled to him," what she means is that her inner mind has seen itself before her ego has had time to know. The body moves forward before the mind can stop it. If this feels familiar, stay with me, because this pull isn't luck, it's a code. Each woman's animus carries the mark of her early times with men. Father, power, voice, being there, distance, the way he looked at her or didn't, the way he made her feel strong or small. These early powers form the shape of her inner male side. Later in life, she meets men who wake up those inner parts. Some show the caring animus, the man who brings aim, reason, peace. Others trigger the mean animus, the man who rules, leaves, judges. Either way, the pull is not between two people, it's between two halves of one mind, doing again an old act of healing and power. This is the hard truth Jung saw in love, that the heart is often just a stage for the inner mind. When a woman feels safe with someone, it is usually because he shows a known pattern, not always a healthy one. The mind does not care about being happy, it cares about knowing. What feels like a spark might really be a repeat, the ease of known pain. This is why liking someone can be so messy. The body acts as if it's meeting fate, while the soul might just be walking around an old hurt. Jung said, "Until you make the inner mind known, it will lead your life, and you will call it fate." A woman's pull, then, is both a guide and a trap. It points toward her own hidden powers, what she has pushed down, said no to, or left behind. When she falls for a man who seems far away with feelings, it might be the part of her own mind that has become numb to feeling. When she falls for a man who is strong and sure, it may be the lost trust she has never let herself show. When she wants the secret one, it is often her own secret asking to be lived, not just watched. Every pull carries a message. This is you unseen. The sad part is that we often run after the messenger instead of the message. She tries to own the man instead of taking in the power he stands for, and so she becomes stuck in the never-ending turn of liking and feeling let down. Because the mind keeps sending the same lesson in different people until she knows it is not about them, it is about her. But here's the odd truth. The animus can be mean. It doesn't care about comfort. Its goal is being whole, being yourself. It will pull her towards times that break her fake ideas of love so that she can meet the raw truth under them. That's why the strongest pulls are also the most painful. They pull her into the fire of change. They ask that she grow past her dreams of being saved and instead become the one who saves herself. And in that heat, something happens. The blame starts to burn away. The man she once saw as perfect becomes human again, with flaws, unsure, real. And in his fading light, she starts to see what she was really looking for, her own power, her own voice, her own animus, grown and put inside. This is the mental death Jung wrote about, the moment when love stops being a god and becomes a mirror. At first she cries, then she sees. She knows that every man she liked was a part of her talk with the inner male, a letter between her soul and its other half. To love with open eyes is to read that letter instead of just acting it out. And yet few do this without loss. Because to stop blaming is to stand alone. To feel the big silence where a dream once lived. The animus no longer lives outside of her.
and that lack can feel like emptiness. But it is not emptiness. It is open space, waiting to be filled by her own being. That is the second hard truth. To find that love's real goal was not to finish her, but to show her she was not finished. Still, the mind does not grow through ideas. It grows through pain. Each pull that fails in the world wins in the inner goal. Each loss brings another piece of her power back home. But she doesn't see that yet. Not at first. She only feels the hurt. The
hard silence after the dream ends. She calls it a broken heart. Jung would call it a start, because something in her is starting to wake. A new bond, not with a man, but with the male rule itself. The power to act, to pick, to speak. And in that waking lies the seed of something rare, a woman who no longer needs the mirror to feel whole. But before she gets to that state, the inner mind still has more to teach her. There is another part to liking, one older than the animus, older than the personal mind, a myth part, a world pattern, and it is there that the real hard truth starts. Liking at its deepest level is an act of opposites. It is not a meeting between two people, but between two old powers that have been split since the start of time. The woman wants the man, not because
She lacks it, but because her way is to join. In Jung's words, this is the dance of the joining, the holy union of opposites. The woman who feels so strongly pulled to a certain man is not following feeling, but an old story. The mind uses him as a living sign, a door toward her own growth. But the path is hard because the mind does not see the difference between joy and growth. It will pick whatever wakes her. Sometimes what wakes her is pain. The old womanly side stands for being open, gut feeling, making, the heart of life. But without the animus, this power can drift, dream, fade. It needs a frame to move its power, a goal to give shape to feeling. So the inner mind sends her the image of a man who has that frame, the steady, aimed, logical power she has not yet owned. At first, this feels like a rush. Finally, she feels steady, but slowly, she sees that what she liked in him must be built in her, or she will forever move around his light. The mind, in its cold wisdom, makes sure that every pull that starts in being uneven ends in a crash. It does this not to hurt, but to join, because the womanly is not meant to stay quiet. The union she wants is not outside, it is inside. A joining of feeling and act, gut feeling and logic, mess and clarity. And yet few know this. They think liking is about fitting, a spark, timing. But in the soul, it is about being whole, trying to find itself. To be pulled to someone deeply and without reason is to be called by your own inner mind, to face what you have sent away in yourself. That's why the most magnetic people are often the most dangerous. They wake what has been sleeping. The mind does not care if the person is right. It only cares if they are strong enough to cause change. And so the woman finds herself split between wonder and fear, pulled toward what she cannot rule. The closer she gets, the more her inner world shakes. The dark side shows, old hurts open. The mind makes a reason, but the body knows something old is being called, because the old male side is not soft. It asks for the loss of dreams, of ease, of needing others. To join with it, she must give up the safety of not knowing. This is why liking feels like danger. The inner mind knows that love, real love, kills who you were, and yet she moves toward it anyway, because under the fear is a deeper drive, the call to being whole. The soul and animus do not look for love. They look to join again. They use love as a cover to pull the soul into growth, and in that cover lies the hurt and beauty of human bond. She may think she is looking for the one, but the one she seeks lives inside, waiting to be known. Still, the trip goes on, because even when she wakes to this truth, liking does not go away. It changes. It becomes less about owning and more about seeing, less about needing and more about knowing. But that knowing has a price, because once you see through the blame, you can never fall in the same way again. You can love, yes, but never without knowing, and that changes everything. Liking, when seen through this soul lens, is not a love story, but a start. The mind makes meetings not for comfort, but for facing. To bring the hidden into light. Every strong pull is a start. Hidden as a person. The woman thinks she is stepping into love, but she is really stepping into herself. Jung saw this as the path of becoming yourself. The slow, often hard process through which the mind becomes whole. To become whole is to stop looking for finishing in others and start being the opposites inside. But first, the opposites must hit. When the womanly meets the male power that mirrors her own inner mind, it causes a mess. The animus wakes, full of views, sure, sometimes cold. It stirs thoughts she never dared to say, aims she hid to stay liked, anger she buried to stay soft. The early steps of this waking can feel like losing it. She starts to fight with herself, doubt her values, doubt her.
Good. What she doesn't see is that she's finally meeting her own power. This is the step Jung called being owned by the animus. The inner male, long ignored, suddenly takes over. She might become too logical, judging, far away, showing the very way she once saw in men. It's a big change, a needed swing of the weight before balance can come back. Every inner joining starts in the far end. The mind makes bigger what has been hidden so she can finally see it. But this state, painful as it is, has a reason. It shows that liking was never about the man. It was a call from her own depths. The man was just the key. The door was always inside. To join the animus, she must first fight with it. She must face her own inner voice of rule, the one that tells her who she should be, who she
must please, what she must give up. For many women, this voice sounds like the world of men. But under that, it is something older. The old male side, twisted by fear. Joining is not a fight. It's making peace. She starts to see that the male is not her enemy. Frame is not power. Aim is not rule. The true animus does not stop the womanly. It helps her. It takes her gut and gives it shape. It takes her care and gives it limits. It takes her mess and turns it into making. When this is seen, liking starts to change. She no longer looks for the man who rules her. She looks for the one who shows her clarity. She is no longer pulled by the ones who hide love, because she no longer hides it from herself. Her body no longer mistakes danger for fun, the old ache for being saved.
Fades, replaced by wonder. A lighter, quieter pull toward those who show her being whole, not her hurt. This is the magic Jung called the holy marriage, high gamos. It is not a dream of forever love, but the mental union of opposites. The inner marriage between the womanly and manly, between being and doing, feeling and knowing, giving and ruling. But before that union, there is always the fall. The mind cannot join what it sees as perfect. It must first kill the dream. The woman who has loved the male side must face its dark part, the liar, the bully, the quiet one. Only then can she see the male as human, both dark and light. This facing often happens through pain. The man she loved lets her down, lies, or just leaves. Her image of him breaks. But in that breaking, the blame falls. She no longer sees him as God or devil, just man. And in that moment of seeing the truth, the animus comes home. It is a hard grace. Every pain is a taking back of power once sent out. What she thought she lost in him, she wins in herself. The voice she once waited to hear from another starts to rise in her. The womanly becomes whole not by finding the perfect man, but by knowing that she carries him inside her. This is the secret hurt of liking. It gives, but only after it takes. It kills the dream to show the real. And yet many fight this step. They hold to the dream, chase another mirror, do the same pattern again. The mind, patient and steady, repeats the lesson until it is learned. Each pull grows stronger, each pain deeper, until she finally asks the only question that sets her free. What is this trying to show me about myself? When that question comes, the change starts. She starts to see the deeper beat, the way every pull has been leading her inside, the way every bond has been a part of her becoming. The mind uses love as its talk. Want is its words. Liking its grammar. Through them, it tells the story of the soul's growth, but few read it. Most only feel the heat, never hearing the message under. The woman who starts to listen turns her pain into meaning. She starts to see that every person she has ever loved was a mirror showing an inner peace. The carer, the judge, the guard, the traveler. And when she picks up these pieces, something great happens. She starts to feel full. Not perfect, full. From being full, love no longer feels like hunger, and that changes everything. Once she gets to this step, liking becomes a choice, not a must. She can like a man's strength without falling into it. She can feel the spark without giving up knowing. She can love without losing the limits that make her. This is what Jung meant when he said the goal is not being perfect, but being whole. Wholeness is the power to hold both things, to have both need and freedom, soft and strong, being open and being in power. In this state, liking becomes holy again, not because it saves, but because it wakes. Yet even here, the mind goes on to test her. The more she joins the animus, the more she meets its other half, the shadow. The shadow is everything the thinking self says no to.
For the womanly, it often hides behind being sweet, caring, or patient, the masks of being good. But under them live the hidden drives: hate, want, fighting, wanting power. Liking often carries the smell of the shadow. We are drawn not only to what finishes us, but to what we push down. A woman who says no to her fight may be pulled to men who show it. A woman who hides her body may want those who show theirs. The mind uses liking as a secret way, slipping hidden parts of the self into the light through being pulled. This is why certain people feel strong, both hard to say no to and scary. They hold our shadow parts like a mirror we cannot look away from. If she dares to look, to really look, she knows the truth. The man who bothers her most is carrying the part
Of her she was told to fear. And here is the final hard truth. To see that love is not between opposites, but between mirrors. Every person we fall for is an echo of something not owned. When she meets the shadow knowingly, the pull shifts again. Liking loses its hurt. It softens into knowing. The electric rush of wanting fades into calm knowing. She can now look at what once ruled her and simply say, "I see you." That line quietly said inside is freedom. Because the moment you see the inner pattern, it can no longer rule you. From this spot, love becomes a mirror, not a maze. The womanly, now joined with her inner male, stands as both sea and land, fluid yet set. She no longer looks for the storm to feel alive. She becomes the weather itself. Her pull now has wisdom.
She no longer asks, "Who will finish me?" but "Who will meet me?" In this change, she steps out of old stories and into being a grown-up. But being a grown-up does not end the myth. It writes it again.
Because the mind never stops making. Even when she reaches being whole, life will send new mirrors, new signs, new lovers, each carrying another part of her opening. Wholeness is not a spot to reach, but a beat. Growth, falling, joining, growth again. And through it all, liking stays the teacher. To feel pulled toward someone is to stand at the edge of finding yourself once more. To fight the urge to own, and instead see the mirror. That is the art of knowing. Jung knew that the gods of love are hard. They do not reward ease. They reward knowing. Every soul that
dares to love deeply becomes a student of its own inner mind. And so the woman walks on, no longer as a seeker, but as one who knows, no longer asking love to say who she is, but letting love show her. The animus in her has grown from a boss to a guide, from voice of judgment to voice of aim. The male now helps her gut feeling, rather than making it quiet. Together they form an inner union that shines out, quiet, steady, magnetic. People feel it. They call it trust, but it's something older, joining. She has become her own poles, being open and aimed, giving and firm. And because she has made peace with her inner male side, she can finally meet the outer male without a dream. She no longer needs him to be God, Savior, or teacher. She meets him eye to eye. Two souls, two mirrors.
Two growing centers of knowing. Love in this way is not the loss of self, but the meeting of selves. It is no longer the hard pull of blame, but the soft knowing of being there. Yet even here, the mind whispers there is more, because knowing is never ending, and being whole is not a finish line. It is a horizon that moves as we move, calling us further into our own secret. And so even in knowing the hard mind rule behind liking, there stays wonder, that long curiosity that keeps the human heart open. Maybe that is the quiet truth Jung wanted us to find, that love was never meant to save us, it was meant to wake us. And the waking never ends. Thanks for looking.